Alrighty, that's good. And I have 1900 straight up, so I will just go ahead and get started. Everybody hear me okay? Okay, I see a number of thumbs up, so that's great. Thank you so much for that. I apologize, I am not on camera, but since I got my new computer, my camera will no longer talk to my computer, so I need to find some driver or something to make them friends again so that I can have a camera. But that's okay. The PowerPoint is much cooler looking than I am, so we'll just go with that instead. This is the North Carolina CERT Forum, and obviously this is your forum, so I have just a couple of things that I want to talk to you guys about, and then I want to hear from you. I'd like to know what is on your mind, what questions or concerns you have with your own local CERT programs. Let me know anything. If I don't have the answers for you, I will do my best to find answers and get back with you. But just let me go over a couple of things real quick. I know I keep talking about having the updated version of our standard operating guidelines out, and it's just been a little busy around here, and I'm hoping that it will be to you all by October 1st. No huge changes from the last version. The biggest addition is a section for folks who are looking to start a new CERT program that I laid that out in a little bit more detail. Probably doesn't apply to most everyone on this call because you are probably already part of a CERT program, but I do hope to have this out very soon. Also, if you have already signed the code of conduct, you will not need to sign that again unless anything has changed. If you have a new email address or some new way I need to get in touch with you, that would be good to know. Otherwise, you just have to sign that once and you are good. Any questions or comments on the SOG? Again, I will get that out to you just as soon as I am able. It has to go through a lot of eyes before I can share it far and wide, so getting that out. All right. Next, we are seeing a lot of movement and energy around starting a state CERT association, and I'm pretty excited about this. And I hope that you all are excited about it too, because I'm sure it will mean good things for all of you. What they are currently looking for are a president, secretary, and treasurer. Those are the minimum three positions you have to have in order to be a 501c3. So they are looking ahead to doing that. Probably not immediately, but that's what they're looking toward in the future. And let's see, and then they would like to have 3 reps from each of the branches. And we're just using the same map that emergency management uses for the branches. So if you can see the thick dark lines between the sections here. So the western branch comes down between Allegheny and Surrey, and it's not exactly a straight north-south line, but fairly close. It ends there between Union and Anson counties. The central branch goes from that line all the way over to Northampton County, and then that line does not go straight north-south at all and comes way far to the west to end between Scotland and Robeson counties. And then the eastern third of the state is the eastern branch. So in case you weren't sure which branch you are in, there's a handy little map for you so you can figure that out. And perhaps you would be interested in being a representative to the North Carolina CERT Association. And we are just asking people to self-nominate. So if you want to be president, secretary, or treasurer, or you would like to represent your branch, please email Zach McGee. He's with Raleigh CERT, and he is managing all of that. My role will just be really that of sort of advisor. Because of my job, I can't really be a voting member on the board, but I'm here to help you all and answer questions and that sort of thing. So Zach has really taken the lead on that. Unfortunately, he could not be with us this evening, but he is very responsive to emails and whatnot. So I put his email address there, the nccerta@gmail.com, and his name is Zach. So just shoot him a quick email if you have any questions, and I know that he will get back with you quickly. Any questions or comments about a state association. I want to be sure nobody's trying to speak. I'm also trying to keep an eye on the chat too. So if you prefer to write instead of speaking, that is also fine. I would like to mention there is also a National CERT Association, and that is a great group, started in 2019, so about 3 years old now, but coming up on 4 years old. And they're doing some really exciting things across the country. We just had the national meeting in Galveston, Texas, back in August. There were over 400 CERT volunteers from all over the country, and even a couple of international CERT volunteers were there. I know I met one gentleman from Malaysia. In fact, I wonder if he's on this call because he's actually staying. Oh, I think he is. Ricky, here you are.
He's on,
Hi,
Samantha.
Ricky. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting that we've got CERT going all around the world now. And Ricky's going to take everything that he learns here and carry it with him back to Malaysia. And I'm just really excited that hopefully we'll have folks who are more prepared and ready for anything all over the world. So that's a pretty exciting thing. If you want to learn more about the National CERT Association, the email address, the web address is nationalcert.org. So you can check that out. You can join from there. Any other information that you want, you can get from there. And I happen to also be the membership chair, and I sit on the board for that association. So I'm pretty familiar with that as well if you have more specific questions. Anybody questions, comments, anything about the National CERT Association? All right, y'all making this way too easy for me, so I will scoot along to the next one. I wanted to let you know we have a lot of things upcoming. So, we never sit around and do nothing. We're busy all over the state. I am not teaching all of these classes. I'm teaching some of them, but I just wanted you to be aware of things that are coming up. We have several basic training classes coming up all over the state. I will be teaching the Train the Trainer class in Forsyth County, October 22nd and 23rd. Let's see what. Oh, I do want to point out, December 3rd, there will be an active shooter exercise in Columbus County, and I am going to be actively soliciting CERT volunteers to be role players for that. So I'll be sending an email out soon. I'm waiting to find out exactly what time they want everybody there. And you'll probably want to wear older clothing because we'll probably be doing moulage and so forth. So, wear something you don't mind getting dirty or stained, that sort of thing. But we will be looking for probably 12 to 15 CERT volunteers to come and help us with that exercise. So keep an eye out on your email for that one. I'm sorry, somebody say something?
Yeah, what day of the week is that?
And that's a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Is that good or bad?
For me, that's bad.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
My congregation worships on Saturday, so
I see.
the time of day it is. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It will probably be, well, I don't even know exactly what time it will be, but I will get that out to you just as soon as I get those details. So, yeah. Let's see. The ones that are in italics, they're the January and April Train the Trainers. Those are tentative, which is why I put them in italics. And I don't have an exact location yet, but somewhere in the east and somewhere in the west. And then later in the year, I will do a Train the Trainer, another one in the central branch. I try to do it at least in each branch once a year. Sometimes we end up having even more, so that's always fun. But there should always be a class near you. A couple other classes I wanted to point out. January 7th in Cumberland County, we'll be doing our SAR for CERT class. So that's for anyone who has an interest in wilderness search and rescue. So this is different from the light search and rescue that we learn in CERT basic training. This is a wilderness search and rescue. And it's really, the class is geared toward the absolute beginner who has not done any kind of search and rescue before, and you're just interested to find out what it's all about. There's a classroom portion and a short field exercise as well. So that's kind of fun. And then I also have a CERT animal response class. So prior to working in emergency management, I worked in veterinary medicine for a long time, 25 years, I think. I don't want to give away my age or anything, but it was a while. And so I have this class I based it off of. There is a CERT supplemental training about CERT and animal response, and I based it off of that, but I have expanded it a little bit. So I will be doing that in Lee County in next March. So we're looking at March now of 2023. Hard to believe we're coming up on 2023. Yeah, so those are upcoming classes. All of these, except the ones in italics, are on terms. The ones in italics will be on terms as soon as they are, cemented down and I know exactly where they're going to be and so forth. And following along that, um, I know, Tim, I appreciate that. I was everything but a vet. I was a veterinary technician though. Just to let y'all know, if you need classes, you need some training ideas for your own personal CERT program, you need some ideas for training. These classes on this slide are ones that myself or my husband Jay, many of you have met Jay, these are classes that we have developed or that we have, they are CERT supplemental training classes, but we have taught them and are happy to teach them again. There are two there, the pod operations, which is the point of distribution training, and SAR for CERT. Those two must be taught in person, but any of the others could be taught virtually. So if you are looking for, an idea or some training that I can help with, or, you just need some ideas for your team, here's some of the ideas. Also, I put at the bottom there, just ask if you have some idea of some training that you would like to have and it's not on this list or you haven't seen it offered anywhere else, shoot me an email and let me know. I don't know everything by a long shot, but I know a lot of really smart and cool people, and I can probably find somebody to offer whatever kind of training you are looking for. So anybody have any cool ideas or different kinds of trainings that you have done with your CERT program that you could share with everybody else? See, Kevin Kupiec has joined. We can always put him on the spot for great training ideas.
Yeah, so we use the drones a lot. So we actually, our students, our CERT members actually have the ability to go out and use the drones for damage assessments and infrastructure checks, and they're 107 FAA certified.
That's so cool. For those of you who don't know, Kevin is with Elizabeth City State University. We should actually call him Dr. Kupiec. He is a professor there at Elizabeth City State, and he has a national award-winning CERT program there at Elizabeth City State University, and they're just doing amazing and really cool, wonderful things. So he's a great person to talk to about training ideas. Anybody else have some interesting, neat things that you've done for training?
This is Bob Bradford. I'm with a volunteer fire department, and we're gonna. I'm I'm gonna train them. They're interested in the CERT program, but also want to try to get some search and rescue. So we're gonna cross train them in search and rescue,
Great.
and that way we'll have some additional people.
That's super. I love to hear that. Um, a really fun and interesting training you can do is about establishing a landing zone or an LZ for a helicopter.
Yeah, and that's what I do now.
Oh,
Whenever
good.
we
Cool.
bring in helicopters for to get people out of wrecks and that type thing, I'm
Yeah,
doing that, and I'm gonna teach that to my people there.
wonderful. Um, and for the rest of you across the state, we have several different life flight type helicopters across the state, and they need to do trainings. It's part of their outreach, and they have to get so many flight time hours and whatnot. And so they will come to you for no cost, and there's a classroom portion where they teach you how to set up a safe landing zone for a helicopter. And then the really fun and cool part is they come and land a helicopter. So definitely look to your local, I know Vidant Health has one. Of course, Duke and UNC have helicopters. There are several of them across the state. So look into that and see who might be able to help you out. And I see,
Is there one in Charlotte?
I'm sorry?
Is there one in Charlotte?
I'm sure there is. I would have to look that up and I will. But I'm sure as large as Charlotte is, does anybody else happen to know off the top of their heads?
Charlotte doesn't have a CERT. Mecklenburg County doesn't have a CERT at all,
Well,
except for the Matthews Fire one. There's nothing in Mecklenburg County or Charlotte.
James is actually with a small CERT program that's in Charlotte, mostly with your house of worship. Is that right, James?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. And I think he was asking about if there was a life flight helicopter program.
Carolinas Medical Center has one down in Charlotte, and Novant up here in Rowan County has one that I'm pretty sure they'll fly down there if you ask.
So it was Carolinas Medical, is that right? Is that what you said, Rusty?
Yeah, it used to be Carolinas Medical Center. I'm not sure what the name
Okay.
of it is now.
Cool. You get
Okay.
that? James?
That's right there in almost downtown Charlotte.
Wonderful.
Atrium. They're now Atrium.
Atrium.
Atrium. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Good information. Tara put another great suggestion in the chat. The National Weather Service has their Skywarn program. I love that program. I've probably taken it 7 or 8 times now. I think it's so wonderful. They will come to you again for free. Somebody from the National Weather Service will come to your CERT location. They will also do it virtually if you need it delivered that way. And you can become a Skywarn spotter. So you know what to look for. For example, for tornadoes, they use CERT volunteers quite a bit for that. When you call into the Weather Service and report that you're seeing something, they give it a lot more credibility if you say, I am a Skywarn spotter, because you actually know what it is that you are looking at. When you see that funny looking cloud, is it just a funny looking cloud, or is it really a funnel cloud that may become a tornado? And I love that training. That's a super one, Tara. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, anybody else doing cool and interesting trainings? Keeping your volunteers engaged?
Well, I trained a couple of youth. I went to a youth program and taught them some basic CERT principles.
Wonderful. How young were these youth?
From 9 to 14.
That's fantastic. I just love getting the younger folks involved, because I certainly didn't know any of this stuff when I was like a teenager. I wish I had. It would have made the rest of my life a lot better if I had learned a lot of this stuff a long, long time ago. Thank you so much for that, James, and for getting the next generation involved. That's fantastic. I love to hear that. Awesome. Well,
We
what
did
other...
shelter. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We did shelter training
Love
with
it.
the Red Cross.
That's great. And that is one of the places across the state that we desperately need help after usually a hurricane is where we most often see evacuations, sometimes winter storms, but in other flooding situations, we as a state really run short of volunteers to help staff shelters. And it would be wonderful for as many CERT volunteers as possible to get trained in that, because we really desperately need the help. Yep, and mass disaster training. Very good. Good point.
Speaking of the youth, in Oregon, where I used to live, and I'm actually visiting right now, the high school here created a teen CERT program, and it was an elective class for high school students for 11th and 12th graders. And they really, it was very successful, and we had the basic training and the training exercise too.
That's wonderful. I'd love to hear that. We have about close to 100 high schools across North Carolina that have public safety academies, and they were started to give kids, I'm not supposed to say kids, students teenagers some real job skills so they would be ready for employment directly out of high school. And it started with a fire academy and training them to get a job with the fire service right out of school. Then they added in EMS, and there is a law and justice part. However, in North Carolina, you have to be 20 and a half years old before you can carry a firearm. So there's a little bit of a gap there from high school to where you could actually work in law enforcement. There's now an emergency management track and a 911 telecommunicator track. And they do teach CERT as part of the public safety curriculum in all of these high schools across the state. So I think that's really exciting. And there are some schools that are then using their CERT volunteers for things like when you have a fire drill at school and somebody has to go around and make sure all the rooms are empty, that everybody has left the building for the fire drill, and they're using their CERT volunteers for that. They put their vests on and they go through and clear the building. They're helping with first aid at basketball games, football games, and that sort of thing. And it's really great to get the younger set involved in thinking about disaster preparedness and CERT as a whole. Very exciting. Oh, Tom has another great idea. Orienteering and map and compass use and GPS. Those are some really good skills to have. Love that. Since I see Tom has his ham radio thing there in his name, that reminds me one of the classes that was on this list here is a ham prep class. So my husband, Jay, he teaches a great ham prep class. If you're interested in getting your ham radio license, you have to pass this exam to get your license. And don't worry, it's not that hard. Even I passed it. So you know that it's doable. And they don't make you know Morse code anymore. I think I would be out if you had to know Morse code. But he teaches a really great class helping folks to get ready to take that exam so they can get their ham radio license.
Samantha, I'm an amateur extra in ham radio. I'm at the top level of ham radio. I'm also Auxcom, so I can also help out people
wow.
trying to get their license.
That's awesome. And who is speaking? Because I can't
Brenda.
see.
Brenda.
Brenda? Awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Very
Can-
good.
Samantha, the person who is also from Charlotte, could I get their contact information, or could I give mine there to find out? Because as far as I knew, there was no CERT. I was told there was no CERT in Charlotte, but maybe I could work with their group.
Yep. And I see, Dorothy, I hope you don't get mad at me for putting you on the spot, but Dorothy is with Starmount Healthcare. I hope I said that right.
You did.
Great. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell folks what you're doing in Charlotte?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dorothy Mason, and I am currently employed by Starmount Healthcare. And we're known for managing StarMed, which did all of the COVID response. And so we're pivoting into the emergency response work. And so we have a set of team members who have been very interested in CERT. These are our non-medical folks that work with the team. So we're really excited to be a new CERT in Charlotte, Mecklenburg area, and very interested in bringing some training to Charlotte. So if you have any ideas, lead me to, that resource.
Yeah. So we are working with Charlotte Mecklenburg Emergency Management. They finally have hired more people, which is awesome. And Dorothy, I hope that you have been able to get up with Chelsea, because I sent that email to the two of you. So Brenda, this could be another group for you to get involved in as well. And James, if you're willing to share your contact information, I can send that directly to Brenda, or if you're willing to share it in the chat, James, or you can send it privately to Brenda. But James is also in the Charlotte area. I think it would be great to get all of you guys like in the same room. That would be awesome to connect all of the Charlotte CERT folks.
Yes, ma'am. I could put it in the chat.
Great, thank you. Linda Oxendine, you're here, right? Oops, there we go. Hang on, I muted you by mistake. Unmute yourself, Linda, I'm sorry. There we go.
Here.
Thank you for that, James. I see your phone number there. Since we were talking about youth, I wondered, Linda, if you could talk a little bit about what you've been doing in Robeson County.
Yeah, so, we've been so in depth involved in the pandemic here with the education, and all that piece, that's mostly what we've been doing around in Robinson, is so focused with the education, and getting all that information out to the county with the vaccinations, and things of that sort is most of what our youth have been doing here, as well as our team leader, Sam. I'm almost hoarse. I'm sorry. I just left an event and I'm hoarse and I'm trying to get sick with this transition.
Oh no.
It's fall weather. Yeah, but I was talking to Miss Deborah because I am so excited. Our Red Springs team is fully up and running, and actually our town of Red Springs even invested in their own burn pan. Our
Wow.
trainers that you did recently here,
Yep. Yeah.
team, yeah, so they could be fully functioning.
Great.
So yeah, for the most part, that's been our focus, with our schools being in and out and trying to
Yeah.
get everybody trained and moving and mobile. But that's mostly where they've been involved in that
Great.
aspect with training, because we had so much hesitancy here in the county
Yeah.
when it came to vaccination, and we were really a hot spot here. But that's the role that for the most part that they played. I was going to put that in the chat. If any of the teams have been involved very much with the public health crisis, and if so, because if you remember way back when it started, that was one of our first call outs, was to help out in that area. So I was wondering if any of the teams had done anything with the public health crisis, and if so, what?
Rusty, you guys
Just
did.
click on that link, Nick, the number.
Are you there, Rusty?
What was that, Samantha?
Did you guys helped out like with call centers and stuff, didn't you, during COVID?
We helped out with the shot, where they were doing the shots and the vaccinations and the testing and stuff like that. Yes.
That's great.
You
I know that there were other CERT groups across the state that that helped out with call centers and vaccine clinics. And and I know you all know this, but there's a lot more to a vaccine clinic than actually putting needles in arms. So there's checking people in, making sure all the paperwork is done properly, watching folks after they've had their vaccine to make sure there's no reaction and traffic and all of that stuff. So
Yeah, that's what we were called out for at first, because emergency management here would not allow us to do our high schoolers, but we also have the UNC member at campus CERT, so with the college students and everything. So our nursing department was really heavily involved in this entire process, and we're just now really transitioning. And actually, we have a clinic Sunday too, but we're really just now really transitioning, kind of since school is really back in and not doing a lot of virtual classes anymore, trying to get started back up with going back the other route. Some of the things, we just had a meeting, well, 2 meetings last week for CERT. One was up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, with the WIOA, which is the Workforce Innovations Opportunities Association.
Yep.
And we also met with the retired school teachers for a CERT program here in the county. The retired school teachers, one of the initiatives that we told them that they could be involved in, because there's a large literacy rate here in the county. And even after the pandemic, we still have people that are displaced in hotels. A lot of those folks were involved with the hazard mitigation program at the rebuild. It hasn't happened as quickly as it was supposed to. And I think a lot of those people kind of got lost in the process after the disaster. So these are things that happens after the disaster when you're still involved in a disaster. On that local government side, which I still am, even though I'm with CORE, I still work with the city of Lumberton as well. And with CERT and with Baptist on Missions, I work very closely with them. And so what we told the retired school teachers here that have their little association was that we would like to get them involved with, and I found this out recently, Samantha, I missed and didn't get to go with Dr. Gahn to the national conference, but I was deployed to Kentucky. But I found out that a role that they could play is with our disaster preparedness, was to go ahead and start teaching our community on FEMA applications, and all the attachments have to be attached to those FEMA applications, because in Kentucky, that was a major issue there, that they had not had a disaster in so many years. Even their government, their judge executive over the county didn't even know how to run a EOC. I mean, their emergency manager, I mean, they were totally had no idea. And so we kind of came back and did some lessons learned from what I learned there to come back to our local CERT and say, hey guys, you teachers, retired teachers, one is 87 years old.
Oh my
But she
goodness.
sits on the board of directors. She sits on the board of directors for the local community college, Miss Dotson. Remember me from high school. And I said, you guys, let's get you certified for CERT. And this is what you can start doing now on this disaster preparedness side is we can go ahead now and start in our community, even with high schoolers. They love to go home and teach moms and dads what they do. And we can show you on Amazon what they can go ahead and buy for like 10 or 12 books that will not burn, will not flood. And this is where they can secure this paperwork now. So the next time a disaster happens, all they have to do is pull this file and say, oh, I already got everything that needs to be attached.
That's great.
Photos, documentation, all this, you can already have it. And that'll stop a lot of those those denials from coming back. And then someone doesn't know how to appeal or they become frustrated in the appeal process. It's part of disaster preparedness. And it's also youth engagement because we're going to teach those high school how to go home and teach moms and dads how to do it.
I just love that. That's wonderful, and how you're getting everybody involved at so many different levels. That's just fantastic. One other person who's done some amazing stuff with teens is Melody Dickerson. Y'all know what happens when you tell me all the cool stuff you're doing is that I call you out on these. So Melody, would you mind telling folks about your summer camp that you did?
In the summer, we do a week-long summer camp, and we do all the regular CERT stuff, and then we bring in the police department, and they talk about human trafficking and gangs and drugs. And then we bring in Stop the Bleed. They get trained in CPR and get CPR cards. We brought in somebody to talk about teen depression and bullying. And then the last day of the academy, it was fire department day. They spent the whole day with the fire department learning about knots, rescue knots, hazmat, which is a fun day with the fire department. And last year we did so well, we had 2 classes. We outgrew the fire department. So we got to find some place different this year so we can have bigger classes.
That's great. I mean, I love all those different elements that you have added. So they're getting CERT basic training, but so much more with the depression and bullying and gangs and human trafficking and, you know, so many other things that teens today have to face that certainly were not on my radar when I was a teenager. And I think it's kind of a scarier world now than it used to be. And I just think it's awesome that you pull all of that together. And you feed them lunch, and is that all provided? And how do you pay for that?
Lunch is provided. I went around to local businesses and they provided lunch for the instructors. Some of them even fed the fire department. So they had lunch every day. They had breakfast.
That's wonderful. I just love that. I'm speaking for you, Melody, but I'm gonna say that if anybody wanted to do something similar in their area, I feel pretty certain that Melody would be happy to share their schedule with you so you could see what they did and maybe you'd be able to duplicate that in your area.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for that. Since it's not your personal email, I'm just taking the initiative here to put her email in the chat. They were Cape Fear CERT, and so it's easy to remember. It's just capefearcert@gmail.com. Fantastic program for teens for a week-long summer program. Let's see, we've got some other things in the chat. So Rusty recommends, of course, the online FEMA classes. So many of them that are really good to do. Usually at least 1, 2, and 700, and sometimes 800 are recommended or required for CERT volunteers, but that's determined at the local level. That's not me. It's not FEMA telling you that. That's what you would like to do. Yeah, and then Brenda also recommends the ICS 300, which you do need to take in person. That is a 3-day class. And that's just if you want to learn even more about the incident command system. I highly recommend that class as well. And then Oxcom, so if you want to know more about radios and being involved in that, those are some other great classes to take too. Love it. Such good information sharing. Anybody have any other kinds of questions, concerns, comments about things that are going on with your home CERT program or anything you wanted to bounce off of anybody? Well, then I'm just gonna keep calling out people who are doing cool things. Lois, Pensinger.
I got one thing, Samantha.
All right, Lois, you're on standby. Go ahead.
Okay.
I put it in the chat. We're trying to rebuild the Rowan CERT.
Mhm.
Our county emergency management has asked us to, they don't want to babysit us anymore, but they'll still sponsor us.
Okay.
So we are literally starting from scratch as far as funding and everything like that. If any of y'all have links to some chat, to the grants and stuff that y'all are using, I got a lady where I work at that's willing to help me write some grants. If you could send me those links via the email I put in there, I would greatly appreciate it, so we can get our feet back under us again.
That's great.
We went from 18 personnel down to about 4 now.
Gosh. Just off the top of my head, if you will even just Google community preparedness grants, those are kind of the key words, community preparedness. I know that big companies like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, Farmers Insurance, State Farm, a lot of these places offer, Walgreens, CVS, a lot of these places offer grants, and the one ticket is your CERT program will have to be a nonprofit 501c3. I don't remember if Rowan already is or not.
We are not. That's
okay.
the thing. We gotta get the funding to
Right.
get that done first.
Yes, that's the old chicken and the egg problem, right? So there is a significant investment. It's about $600 to become a 501c3. So you do need to have that, because these big companies, of course, they need to give away money for tax purposes. Of course, they care and they want to help out, but they need to have that tax deduction, and you can't offer that to them unless you are a 501c3. So those bigger grant folks, they're not going to talk to you. In fact, most opportunities for grants will only be for 501c3s. So I know it'll be tough to come up with that money just to get that part of it done. But that you really kind of need that before you can get any grant. I know that makes it hard.
That's just me. Thank you for letting me.
Of course. Lois, so I wanted to put you on the spot about the wonderful training that you do with your guys up there in Perquimans County.
Yeah, we've done a lot. We really have learned how to do the points of distribution. We worked with the local Board of Health and the EMS, and we're involved heavily with all of the vaccination clinics. We were not allowed to give any of the injections because of liability issues, but we were able to prepare the syringes for the nurses and register people and watch them afterwards. So we probably prepared at least 5,000 shots to give to the community. We went into the some of the compromised areas with police escorts, and twice, and in 2 different areas, and helped get people there vaccinated. We've done the National Night Out. Let's see, what else have we done? We did the North Carolina bicycle tour that came through Hertford. We've helped another CERT group not too far from us get organized with equipment and training. Once a year, usually in the spring, to add to your list, we give the 317 course, the basic CERT course. What else have we done?
Can you describe to you, there was a couple of years ago that I went to it, but you do a full-scale exercise that involves your whole neighborhood, your whole community? How do you do that?
Yeah, we have a community center, and next door to that is the garden center. And we use that as our command center, and we get volunteers from the community to be victims. We have signs that we go and we put on from their front lawns. And when they activate the CERT, we also involve the local EMS. They come or at least send one person to give us a lot of feedback. And we get the victims to come afterwards too for a hot wash. But we activate CERT, and our community is a little bit unique in that we have what's called area and neighborhood representatives and alternates. So every neighborhood has a designated person that we can activate if there's a problem, like if there's a hurricane that has come through and we need people to go out and survey the area. They do a quick neighborhood search to check houses. So we try to encourage people that if they're going to be away or they're leaving, to let their neighborhood representative know that there's nobody home in a particular house or several houses. The neighborhood reps, if they're not going to be around at a particular time and something is happening, we have radios, and they give their radio to their alternate person. It sounds great. It doesn't always work real well. We try to encourage them to do that, but like I said, sometimes they just leave and they don't let anybody know they're going. But we involve them in the full field exercise too. So we activate them first to go out and check the neighborhoods and see. And some of the victims, they have serious injuries or something's happened to their houses, and we tell them to scream for help and that kind of thing. So the neighborhood representative would hear this, and they would contact us by radio to say, it's such and such an address. I hear two people screaming. There's a car in the driveway, or there's a tree down on the house. It's crushed the dining room. So then we send the CERT team members out there to do search and rescue. Let's see, what else we do? So we do this, it's about 4 hours long. I get as many volunteers from the community as I can. And we put a notice out that day that if you see people running around in green shirts and hats that say CERTs, because we're doing a full field exercise.
Yeah.
And they come afterwards for a hot wash and give us feedback on what they think went well and what didn't go well, which is always stuff that we can learn from. So we do that at least once a year. We've also done the animal rescue class. We've done the psychological training, how to deal with people with mental health issues. The EMS has just trained us in how to administer Narcan, and have given us some of the sample things that we've put into our team bags. What else? We've been pretty
great, and so many different aspects. You're touching so many different parts of CERT training and all the different things that you do. I think that's just awesome, and I was just blown away when I got to visit your full-scale exercise, and it's literally the whole neighborhood is involved, and it's just so clever the way y'all do it. They put these signs out in the front yard because obviously we don't want to damage anyone's home, right, during the training.
Right.
But there's a sign in the front yard that says, like, there is a tree over the corner of the house and several windows are broken, so that you know what sort of damage you're pretending that you see on that house. And it's just such a clever and creative way of doing it. I think it's great.
Yeah, and the CERT members have to put the red piece of construction paper on the front door and make the X and, fill in all the sections of that. And one of the things we've had the EMS do is come and work with us on how to do the different carries and putting people on backboards and getting them off and that kind of thing. We've recently bought a stair chair,
Wow.
which I think will come in very handy here. And they're not that expensive. If you look on Amazon, you can get a decent one for less than $200. So,
That's great.
and we do fundraisers. Our recent fundraiser was a wine giveaway. So if you bought a ticket to support CERT for, I think it was $30, you had an opportunity to win $200 worth of wine. So
Oh, that's great. And was that donated by a local company?
we have a retail wine program here on Thursday mornings. There's a man here who organizes that, and we can buy wines at discount prices. And
Great.
so he has made so much money this year for the community because of the pandemic and people being stuck in their homes. And so what does that say? I'm not going to
Great.
go there, but he donated the wine for us, so it worked out really well.
Oh, I love it. See, guys, think outside the box. We never talked about that in CERT basic training, did we? But there's so
No.
many different things that you can do out there. I just love it. That's great.
Well, we also sold first aid, small first aid kits that fit into golf carts and glove compartments in cars and car safety tools. So we got a little creative with that, but we're right now we're a little burnt out on having to do all these fundraisers.
Yeah.
So having information about these community preparedness grants might come in handy.
I hope so.
2 years ago, we applied for an AARP grant,
Mhm.
but we did not get it. And I think part of it was because one section you had to address housing for people.
Yep.
And of course, this is not that kind of community.
Right.
So, but can always try again with another one.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lois. You did awesome for being totally put on the spot, and you had no idea I was going to call on you tonight. That was very good. Very, very good.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from anybody? It doesn't have to be on training or fundraising. Anything else? Just anything CERT. It's wide open.
Samantha.
Anybody have a class coming up that I did not have on my previous list? Because remember, we do want to be sure that all basic training classes are coming through terms, whether you use that beforehand, which is preferred, or at least send me the sign-in sheet afterward. So I need for each person their name and a unique email address. So I know apparently a lot of husbands and wives share emails. I have to have a separate unique email for every person in there. So, it's free. Go on Gmail. They can get their own address. But if you'll just send me your rosters after a class, I can make sure that they all get entered into terms. So everybody has that on their transcript. So we know how many CERT trained people we have in North Carolina.
Samantha,
Yes.
this is Brenda. I took a course I really shouldn't have been taking, but it was a fantastic course. It was given by Mecklenburg County Emergency Management.
Uh-huh.
It was on SAR. It's SAR Topo.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
search and rescue using the topographic maps. Should be 20 people in the class. There's only 6 of us in it. And also Mecklenburg County, I don't know if they want CERT though, is doing a major exercise up at DuPont State Forest,
Oh, yeah.
November 11th and 12th. And I was
Yep.
told I'm expected to be there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they do that every year at DuPont. So that's a major one. I had told my husband we could alternate years. Our wedding anniversary is November 11th, and they always do that exercise the same time. And I told him that we could do it every other year, but we haven't been in like 6 years. So I'm trying not to remind him. But it is a great exercise and they do a really good job. It's very well organized and you can learn a lot about search and rescue going to that exercise or any others. There are lots of search and rescue exercises across the state. There's one coming up at Jones Lake State Park very soon here in the next couple of weeks.
Sam, I've got one of my team leaders on the phone with us. She's also Red Cross. I know some people were interested in how to sign up for the sheltering training.
Yes.
So Juanita, I think you're on here tonight. Can you give them information on sheltering? And also another that we were working on was with how churches can also set up for sheltering as well. Juanita, maybe you can give information on that as well.
So I can unmute her. We're not hearing you, Juanita. You might be double muted. I'm not sure if you're on, looks like you're on the, I'm not sure if you're on the phone or on the computer. I can't tell. But if you are speaking, we're not hearing you yet. Well, gosh, that's a bummer. I would love to hear what she has to say, but I know somebody did put in the chat, maybe it was you, Linda, about contacting the Red Cross if you want shelter training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
region.
Yeah, so I mean, there are Red Cross chapters in every county. So if you want information, they will come and talk to your CERT group as well. So you can, just call your local Red Cross chapter and tell them that you're with CERT and when your meeting is. And I know that they would be happy to send someone out to you to get that training of how to work in a shelter. That's very valuable training to get. All right, guys. Well, we are just about coming up on an hour, so I don't want to steal any more of your time away from you, but I just want to remind you that I'm here anytime you have questions. I'm going to put, so you don't have to spell out my whole long name. I had them give me this little alias. So cert@ncdps.gov. You can always reach me there. And my phone number is there. So anything that comes up with your CERT program, questions, trainings, whether it's on the list of things that we already have kind of canned that we can do for you, or if you have something else that you'd like to learn, let me know and we will try our darndest to get it together for you so that you can have whatever classes or training that you want. I'm also always happy to welcome and I know some of you are pretty far from Raleigh, but if you would like to come to Raleigh and see the State Emergency Operations Center. It's really a pretty cool place. And I would love to have you bring your group up here and talk to you about emergency management in North Carolina and give you a tour of the EOC. So that's pretty neat. I see, Bob, you were asking to annotate this.
That's okay.
Okay.
I hit the wrong button.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm like, okay, what does he want to do? That's cool. Yeah. So great. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight and please do stay in touch. I'd love to hear what you all are doing and please send me pictures too. I share them on the NC CERT Facebook page. I send them to FEMA so that they can publish it in the ICPD, the Individual and Community Preparedness Division's newsletter. I send it on to National CERT so that CERT programs across the country can see what we're doing here in North Carolina. So please send me those stories, even if it's just a paragraph and a couple of pictures. I really want everybody in the country to know how awesome CERT is here in North Carolina. And that's because of all of y'all. So thank you so much and stay in touch. Call me, email me, let me know what you need. And but above all, y'all stay safe out there, okay?
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.